Well, here comes a very unusual collection of books. What they all have in common is I connect them in some way with the Decentralist Manifesto. Today what I want to do is show you ones that are utopian, seriously utopian some, and whimsically utopian others. Anyway, the two that are missing, I used to like to show them to my students, were a copy of Plato's Republic. I think sometimes that's regarded as the first utopian book, and then Thomas More's Utopia, a small version of that. Don't have them. Another one that I don't seem to have is one called Erewhon. I'm not sure if that is utopian or dystopian. But these, the complete essays of Montaigne, the reason I put them in here is because I wanted to put them in here somewhere. And he, at about age 38, I think it was, dropped out. I think of him as one of the original dropouts. He was rich, he was French, he just kind of dropped out. So I don't know if he really fits in the utopian business, but I wanted to show you that. Now, Robinson Crusoe would be probably a next one to show you. It was, its purpose in the 18th century was to show man over nature, but when I was a kid I loved that, and as many others have too as well. And that kind of launches me into a whole island thing, where here's a copy of Robinson Crusoe. It's sort of like the Swiss answer to that. Now I'm puzzled here because it says here by Jonathan Wiss, Swiss Family Robinson. I think it's interesting that this Dad declared was his favorite book. Now here's an older copy, and this may have been a copy that he had as a kid. I don't know. Nice in a way. I mean, the paper's not good. But one of the things that puzzles me is about it says by John Lovell. And it doesn't say anything about Jonathan Wiss. I don't quite understand that. But in any case, Swiss Family Robinson, sort of like a family, very Christian version of Swiss Family Robinson. Now, The Mysterious Island. I put those three sort of in order. There was a time in my life I had a great fascination with island utopias, sort of, and I'm not the only one. By Jules Verne. Here it's like an engineer with his team takes a wild, again, sort of 18th century or 19th century by now, progress overcoming. Don't know too much about this one. It's older than I thought, The Little Savage, but I think it's similar. It's similar, as I say. I just don't. I was surprised when I looked here that 1806. That's pretty far back. But I suspect that it is utopian. Now, going on with this island connection. Well, the island of Dr. Moreau, H.G. Wells. This was dystopian. It was on an island, but it was not a utopia by any means. It was dystopian. I've got Mutiny on the Bounty and here, Men Against the Sea. I don't have Pitcairn's Island. I'm not sure why that is, because there was a trilogy. Mutiny on the Bounty, of course, became a very, very famous movie, and good movie, a couple of them. But the connection there is Nordhoff and Hall. Well, Hall also wrote Lost Island. Not nearly so famous. Oh, I should show you. There's Mutiny on the Bounty. There's Men Against the Sea. I'll get to Kipling in a moment. But Lost Island, not nearly so famous, but I read it. I liked it. I mean, I regarded it as sort of the same sort of thing. It was written, I think, maybe in the 1940s. This version was anyway. The Bounty trilogy. Okay, now Kipling. I'll put him in. I'll deal with him now. Jungle Book. This whole Jungle Book thing. It's not realistic, but then and it has to do with nature and going back to nature. And I don't know if it's exactly utopian, but in a way, the Jungle Book. Here's another version of the Jungle Book that was done later on. And the most famous of these jungle guys, of course, was Tarzan. Tarzan of the Apes, conceived about 1905, I think, by an American. Tarzan of the Apes, The Dreadful Swamp. I was interested enough in Tarzan as a kid that somebody bought me this. At one point, it was kind of a history of Tarzan. I'm not the only one, actually. And I suspect that the modern film series, what's it called? I don't know, Survivor, about, not, well, Survivor, yeah, that, but also a contest about people trying to survive. It shows that the impulse isn't gone. I mean, it's absurd in so many ways. My German friend Shirley said, oh yeah, she really liked Tarzan too. I'll just use that as an excuse to throw this in. I wasn't so taken with the Tarzan after a while books, but Edgar Rice Burroughs, who conceived of him, his science fiction was a whole other matter. And it doesn't really fit in here, but I just couldn't resist, because Chessmen of Mars, there was a very stupid but fun book. Now, on with the utopianism. Here's a book that I bought for my mother because she had once said, well, that's not the name of it, that it was her favorite book. And I remembered that, Landia. I'm not sure when this was written. Oh, it's 1942, I guess. She had said once that it was her favorite book. Well, it's Utopian, huge. I can't believe I read this. To Frank, Jane, Barbie, Jeff, thank you for this $36 book. She was amazed at that. It was even better now than when I first read it 35 years ago, when in the hospital with Lynn, that's my older sister, knew. Next, who's going to read it next? Well, I did read it. Strange kind of a thing, but just as my father loved Swiss Family Robinson at one point, yeah, I think she might have changed her mind. It wasn't her favorite book so much anymore. I don't know about that, but threw that in. And then finally one other that I'll show you. Here's maybe the most famous of at least modern utopias, Lost Horizon by James Hilton. In the 1930s, Lost Horizon was I think it was the first paperback book, and it was unbelievably popular and became 2 movies. It was about a paradise. It was utopian, a paradise in the Himalaya mountains. You see, in the 1930s was one of those times when utopianism seemed to rise. Now, I've held short of the 1960s, and I've held away from New England, because I want to show you books about them next. But there's a little bit of a trip to show you some of probably my nearly complete collection of utopian books. Bye for now.